No, this takes him into zero. With a real boxer, real world champion boxer, that the only other time he was in for the fans to get mad with that was against Fury's, Tommy Fury, but it wasn't that level, obviously, and all the size things you just rightfully pointed out. But he would have been in there with, you know, I mean, it seemed crazy.
Gervonta Tank Davis has shocked fans with his new physique ahead of his showdown with Jake Paul. Known for his explosive power and compact build, Tank has taken his training to a whole new level, adding serious muscle mass that's got the boxing world buzzing. Recent gym footage shows a thicker, more intimidating Tank, leading many to believe he's preparing to match Paul's size and strength head-on.
We were yelling so much about him fighting someone, fight somebody your size. His next opponent is, by far, the most credentialed guy ever fought actively in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 135 pounds.
For years, fans have demanded he fight someone closer to his size. Now, his next opponent is not only the most credentialed fighter Jake Paul has ever faced, but also an active champion in his prime. The catch? Davis normally fights at 135 pounds.
Yeah, this Santa Cruz I hit the deck. You can't let it burn, baby, let it burn.
Mind over matter, son. Mind over matter.
This is the blues of
Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. Nigga trying to stay away from the desert. He come in the desert.
when the night
Camera. Oh,
Okay, light, camera, action.
and fighting for light action. Camera.
Dig down in there. Dig down in there. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Remember that gun on it? They got that gun on that tank that goes, ah!
when the night is cold and low.
He ain't gonna keep you here late at night. Good job.
It's been hard being away from my daughter. You know, she actually here, she sleep. Just being away from her, it was a little touchy, but I know when I'm up, you know, up against, you know, I know that I got pay-per-view. You know, I know I'm fighting a tough opponent, so really I know how to lock in. I know how to shy away from everything. I know how to, like, I know how to fool around.
I said 10, huh?
No, don't do that. I can't go on TV looking like that.
But reality hits. Jake Paul is a much heavier man. The fight rules allow a 195-pound maximum weight and 12-ounce gloves for both. That means Davis, who usually competes around 135 pounds, is stepping into a massive size and strength disadvantage. Critics argue this new bulk could slow him down and dull his explosiveness, the very traits that define him.
Jake Paul, Tank Davis fight got moved to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but
Jake has
Jake
better
Paul
boxing.
now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean,
Gervonta
it's
is
just.
fucking sick.
I mean, yeah. No, but dude,
Did you
Jake.
ever watch his highlights?
Jake can
He's
crack,
nasty,
man.
bro.
He's so sick. I love that guy, bro. Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. Give the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skills, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. No, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Tank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a dum-dum.
Dana White weighed in saying not many people are hyped for it, but admitting it could help Tank's career. After months of negative headlines, this fight could reignite his star power and secure a big payday. White argues Jake's height, reach, and natural strength will allow him to smother Tank, lean on him, and control the fight physically. Tank's a powerful, technical boxer, he says, but when you move him up to Paul's size, his advantages might disappear.
Is picking Jake Paul to beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around. That's who I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible. And the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So, I do like it for this reason, though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight and says something to the effect that, hey, he was talking to Logan Paul and said, hey, when you were fighting Floyd, you know, there was this, you're a gigantic guy, big size difference. There was a time when Floyd Mayweather Jr. hit, had an overhand right that landed flush on Logan Paul.
But not everyone's laughing. Mike Perry slammed the matchup, calling it a cash grab. He questioned whether Tank still has the same hunger that made him champion. He said Jake's working harder than him right now, and that says something.
Jake is big, Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw, and, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
During the face-off, fans noticed Tank's body language. Stiff, tense, avoiding eye contact. Usually brimming with confidence, he looked uneasy beside Jake's towering frame. Some say he was focused, others say he was intimidated. He looked uncomfortable, one observer said. We've seen Tank stare down monsters before, not like this.
Tank looked very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets in their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's gonna win. That's what it means.
Teddy Atlas joked that Tank would need a ladder to reach Jake's chin. He said, "This is more spectacle than sport. The size gap's ridiculous." Comparing it to a Canelo versus Crawford scenario, he emphasized that Davis is far more undersized, a 5'5" lightweight taking on a 6'1", 195-pound fighter.
Things, right? They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in the contract, but I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, all kidding aside, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but a little different. The size difference was, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping, and it made me think. And I'm gonna ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm gonna ask him because I know he's an expert in this area. But it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, AKA Thunderlips. He was Thunderlips back there. And I thought I had it right, and it was confirmed to me. It's Rocky III.
Shakur Stevenson called the whole idea terrible for boxing. It's a money move, he said, but if Tank can make more fighting me, why not do that? He's got the skills to beat Jake, but Jake's gotten way better. In the right fight, he could even become a world champ.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah.
It's a huge size advantage, though.
It is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
Yeah.
Leonard Ellerbay explained that Tank's lack of motivation lately stems from personal struggles. He wasn't mentally ready for other fights, like Lamont Roach. He just couldn't get up for it. He was going through the motions. Originally, Tank wanted Lomachenko, but that fell through.
Leonard Ellerbay said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it, and he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach, and that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight. and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily Lomachenko.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul continues to hand-pick opponents that guarantee buzz. From retired MMA stars to smaller fighters, his strategy is clear: maximize money and exposure while minimizing real risk.
Holy shit, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis is actually happening. What the f is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who's training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry at a competitive fight with Tommy Fury. But it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy 1st round knockout for myself.
Nate Diaz dismissed the fight altogether. That's not a real contest, just a payday. Jake's too big. I don't even want to call a winner.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by a knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think.
He's just too small.
It just. I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually. I'm not hating on the fight, but I think. My thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing is turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. You agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE. So like, at least that's happening and getting something to talk about, something to watch. And I'm looking forward to that fight, actually.
Michael Bisping echoed the criticism. If you're 65 pounds heavier than your opponent, that's bullying. Jake wants respect as a boxer, but this isn't how you get it. Fight someone real, someone who keeps you up at night.
Heavier. That is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers. Yeah,